So we're doing exercise 5b, and in this video I'm going to be answering the question 1d. Question 1 reads, sketch a graph of each of the following relations and state its domain and range. So for D, the relation that we've been given is 3x plus 2y equals 12, where x is greater than or equal to 0. So I've broken this down into 3 steps. The very first thing that we're going to do is rearrange it, because it's going to be rather difficult to sketch it in this form. So what I have is 3x plus 2y equals 12, but what I want it to be is y equals something. So in order to achieve that end, I'm going to do some rearranging to get y by itself. So the first thing I'm going to do is minus 3x from both sides, and by doing that, these are going to go away. So now I'm going to get 2y on my left-hand side, 12 minus 3x. Next thing I want to do is get rid of this 2, so I'm going to divide 2 to both sides, and I'm going to be left with y is equal to 6 minus 3 over 2x, because by that I just got rid of these 2's. So now I have a nice equation which I can sketch. Now, when I'm sketching something, I need 2 things. I need my X-intercept and I need my Y-intercept. To find my X-intercept, I know I'm going to let y equal 0. So I'm going to let y equal 0 and then solve it for x. 3 minus 2. So I'm going to minus 6 from both sides, minus 3 over 2x. I'm going to times both sides by 2 to get negative 12 equals negative 3x. Then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3 in order to get 4 equals x. So that means my x-intercept is going to be 4, 0, which is going to live here. Next, I'm going to find my y-intercept, and we know that to find the y-intercept, I'm going to have to let x equal 0. So I'm going to have y equals 6 minus 3 over 2, and instead of an x, I'm going to put a 0. Minus 3 over 2 times 0 is just 0, so I'm going to be left with y equals 6, which means that my y-intercept is going to be 0, 6. 6, which is going to live here. So now that I've done all this, I'm going to give this a sketch. And you might be tempted just to immediately do this. Here, try to get it so it goes through my intercepts. Oh, this is trickier than I thought. There we go, gonna have to live with that. Let's see if I can, perfect. So now, let me actually make this a bit thicker. There we go. So you might think, well, I've done it. This is how we sketch it. But we need to take into account the fact that we're told that x is greater than or equal to 0. So that means what I've done is restricted my domain. My domain is where x is greater than or equal to 0. So that means I'm going to have no negative x values. So I'm going to have to grab my line and make sure I have nowhere that it exists in my negative x area. So it's going to be here. So I could even come here. It's going to start here at x equals 0, and then it's going to go to x equals infinity. It's just going to go x to infinity, but it's going to start at x equals 0. Now that's going to be very important now, because now I have to tell you what my domain and range is. And look, I have no room, but one of the perks of doing things on the computer, let's see if this works. Look at that. And I can also make the thickness a bit thinner. Thinner again. There we go. That looks pretty good. That's still legible. All right. So now I need to figure out what my domain is. My domain. And we've actually already been told what my domain is in the question itself. X is greater than or equal to 0. And looking here at my graph, you can see that this is the case. All my possible x values, it starts here and then goes to infinity. So it's going to be 0 to infinity. And hopefully you can see that this is just another way of writing x is greater than or equal to 0. Next, I need to write down what my range is going to be. My range is all my possible y values. So for all my possible y values, as you can see, it's going to be from negative infinity all the way up to 6. Now, it's going to be a square bracket around my 6 because up here it's x is greater than or equal to 0. And where x is 0, that's where I have my 6. So I'm going to include that 6. So my domain is going to be from 0 to infinity, and my range is going to be from negative infinity to 6. Hopefully this video was helpful to you in answering 1D.